Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Build with Stakki, our maybe sixth or seventh episode now so far. It's where we talk to go-to-market leaders, sales leaders and founders who are building their sales stack, their outbound sales and marketing motions and their go-to-market strategies. This week we have Ollie Whitfield, who I've known for several years now. He is the co-founder at Slingshot, a marketing agency based out of the States, but work with US and I believe EMEA. Ollie, do you want to say hello to everyone? Introduce yourself.
How's it going? Yeah, episode 6 for Thiago, episode 7 for Suarez. Tells you I'm a Liverpool fan. Recorded the day after winning the league, so life is good.
Could have picked a better day for you to record. You got you in a good mood then.
No, absolutely cracking. Like first time in my life. Well, not the first time we've won one before, but first time in my life I got to see it happen.
Nice, great stuff. Cool. Well, look, we'll have a hopefully really positive conversation then. Any complaining, I'll blame it on you. Okay, so good stuff. So tell us a little bit about, I guess, like your background for the people watching, listening, and a little bit about Slingshot.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm a 12-year marketer. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I left school and just got an email about an apprenticeship. It was the first one on the apprenticeship list, was a social media apprentice. I hit that and managed to get it. Fun fact that I beat my ex-girlfriend to the job. That took me, I had no idea until I met her a few years later in the same office, and that was a little bit of a laugh. But yeah, fast forward to 12 years later, I'm now, I say the words going solo, but working for yourself as such. It is when you're working for a small business, it's kind of yourself and your small team. And here we are. Yeah, what we do is what we really enjoy to do. It's not kind of some services that are grunt work, that sort of stuff. We're kind of considered consulting with some expertise that we deliver and then some deliverables that we deliver as well. So there's a bit of a both going on there. We kind of do fractional as well. So we're in this little bit of a like new age of who does what work and how do they do it type of space. But we have good time and we do work that we think is like the most fun thing in the world, at least for us nerds who care about content like we do.
Nice. I think like there's a growing space in that fractional space, or a growing awareness that fractional is like a really good option for a lot of like startups, a lot of SMEs who they need a certain amount of expertise and guidance to get to a certain place, but they don't need the full time overhead. So in your fractional stuff and services, are you finding you're filling like a number of key skills and that helping to transfer that to the rest of the team, or are you sort of filling a gap until they have enough volume or enough of that work to take someone on full time?
Bit of both. Transparently, the company I'm doing most of that stuff with, which we both know in common, they had an outgoing fractional, and timing was beautiful of my outbound for them. So kind of luck of the draw a little bit to that extent, but you got to be in it to win it. And yeah, very much like they're a coaching very very heavy on. They're a company, I should say, very heavy on coaching and developing people. So befitting of that, a good part of the work is to help the team there and to there's like two parts to fractional. Fractional is doing some work, and then fractional is like building the systems for future work. The first few things I did were build out KPIs and things like that, and also SOPs was the word I was actually looking for, not KPIs. Standard operating procedures. They'd never done half the things they were doing before. No one had written it down. So how do you do it again later on? Just a lot of stuff like that. You got working on those things, and then of course as you go, you want to ramp up the volume of what things you do. So lots of that, and then lots of the coaching internally. Like, this is the first time we've all done something. I've done it 3 or 4 times before, potentially. What can I share, or how can I get you to say, here's how I think I would do it. I don't know about this or that. And I would be able to unpick and question you on your logic, and then we kind of get you to illuminate your own moments. That was terrible buzzword bingo of how to explain coaching, but off the dome.
Yeah, but it makes sense, right? And that fractional and that coaching role, I guess that you feel in that like is really valuable. And I guess from your perspective for this, I think most of the people we've had on for this conversation have come up like the go-to-market from the sales point of view or the sales development point of view, and you're coming at it from a bit more of like the marketing side of that. If you say marketing and sales are the two sides of the go-to-market, then you're coming at it from that other side, which will be interesting. And also, one thing I'd probably like to get your feedback on, and just maybe your views on, is the world we have now and the sales space we have now. There is so much content marketing. There is so many people on LinkedIn trying to do it well. So many YouTube channels, podcasts, myself included, trying to learn how to do this and get better at it. I know I pick your brains occasionally on that. But like, how have you seen maybe like the market change or the key concepts behind content or social selling? Is social selling just a buzzword as well?
Probably not, no. But like I remember when it first started, it was basically DM people. That's what selling is. That's not social selling. It was just done on LinkedIn, which is how it got social. But yeah, at the minute, I do think a lot of people are now like really trying to become known or to do the thing, as it were, like in whatever way and style that they're trying to do it. I just think our competition as a marketing company who do consulting about content is usually AI. Sounds weird, but it's like, well, yeah, but I could just use ChatGPT to knock out this post and like crop up this podcast that was 10 minutes that I did and make 5 clips of it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, like I hear you. It's just going to be like the same stuff that everyone else does though. And that's like, I think the like critical mass problem of you're trying to do A and B and C now, whether you're trying to be the next big LinkedIn comedian, the next big like thought leadership person, the next big essay writer on how this tactic is working, the next big carousel maker, the whatever your style is, you're one of like infinitely more now than even like a year ago. And even 2 years before that, like again, it goes on. So trying to just find your like, not to become the most famous, not to become the best at the carousel. Just find the thing that you're actually going to like doing and do better. Because I always I find sitting and talking on video very natural. It's just like we're in person over a drink at a pub. I'm happy to do that. So for me, that's a great medium. I'm terrible at writing. My writing is 5-year-old level. I hate it. So I don't really do text posts because they suck. So I just play to my own strengths. I back my own like horse in my own race, as it were. So I think that's kind of the thing. It's if I can find what makes me half decent, and I can really lean onto that and try and find a way to make that different to the rest of the stuff. That's because there are plenty of people who like video.
Yeah, yeah,
I got to find my own like lane to swim in within that.
yeah. That's really interesting. The point you mentioned just about like you're not actually necessarily competing against like other people. You're kind of competing against AI who are doing it obviously on people's behalf and they're instructing AI to do this and that, but it's only going to be as good as like what you put in to it. And it's the same as when we're talking to the sales guests that we've had on here. They see there's maybe a need or some use cases for it. And whatever everyone on LinkedIn tells you, we haven't had one guest yet who's saying, yeah, we do AI this, AI that, AI this, AI that. It's all like we need structure and processes and humans to do stuff. And we might find some AI tools that like make parts of that a bit more efficient. But you need someone like you who's got 12 years of experience doing it, building it, testing it, and understanding the foundations to go from there and give that to the company.
If I see another like, here's my 3K a month AI 100% agency, I'm like, please. But maybe it is. It's like some Frankensteined up AI mess thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I don't buy that. I've had so many pictures and so many demos of things like that, and they just stink for various reasons. And anytime I bought things that I trusted and knew worked well, they smell a whole different way. Like, and that just the nose test for that is enough for me. But maybe one day. But at the minute, I am yet to see anything remotely close.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the only place it maybe works is where like it's really low cost, low value products that people can just buy really quickly, and it's not a business buying it for like any real impact. It's individuals just spending, you know, 10, 20, 30 quid, and you're just trying to like sell it low, stack it high. That doesn't translate to the B2B world.
No, yet to see it.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit then about your kind of go to market strategy or your sales strategy, I suppose. Obviously, content is going to be a big part of that. How do you tie that into maybe or feed that from marketing into like a sales process, or what's your strategy?
I'll give you some open heart surgery here. This is very difficult. And I think for marketing companies, there's a unique weirdness about doing outbound sales, which I think is
Yeah.
something that we should try to crack, but also not kill ourselves to achieve. I think you need to find a blend with this. So obviously marketing ourselves, that's what we want to do. We've got a media brand, which hopefully achieves that. It also has sponsorship, which is nice, pays some of the costs that we have for it and makes a small profit. So that's nice. Is also potentially a future client. If you get in on the small scale on the sponsorship model, you might want further services. So that's a place, but it's a small part of the pie. At the minute, a major pipeline driver is networking. I absolutely hate the word networking. We're part of a group which is pretty potent for it. It's very specifically about referral driving. So it's not just like B&I and you meet a plumber next week and you meet an accountant the next. I'm sure that works for some people, but that's really not our range. It's specifically a B2B one. It's like $100 a month. It's all over the world, but it's primarily in the US. And the whole idea is that you can earn referrals for the business that you refer, even to just among, if I refer you to meet someone else in the group, not for directly working together, but you then end up working together somehow. I make money from that. So it's been pretty good. There's various chapters all over the place in the States. You can join many as you'd like to. So we're trying to do the rounds in that. My partner is also in it, so he's doing a different strategy to me. I'm meeting the people who are like us, who do things like us, because they might have referrals for us and I might have them for them. He's doing the direct, like, your ICP fit, let's do the thing and talk. Bit of both has worked, 50-50, I would say. Just the one thing with networking is, I'm sure you're aware what I'm going to say, is you can't predict it. It's like as much put in as you can get out.
Yeah.
I could have 15 meetings in a row that are useless and one great. Obviously, I'd like to try and mid-max that. I'd like to have 5 great meetings a week that were really mutually beneficial, but can't always guarantee that. So it's kind of a pour on the petrol and see what you get at the end. Other than that, I've done some very, very, very tailored, very slow, very manual, painful outbound to a few people that I've seen around my feed and have known of for a while. I found it very hard to replicate that, just because if I see them naturally in my feed and they've got something that I just know I've got something I can say about, then there's a track and then there's an engagement method for me. Other than that, I would love to find, how can I find more of those people easier? Because if I said to you, right, I want to find more Donnies, how do I find my James Donaldson again? I go to your profile, I click the viewed whatever the word is, the like people also viewed thing on LinkedIn. Yeah. If it doesn't give me 5 more of you, which it never does, my trail runs cold. And that's where I'm like struggling a little bit for. We want to find people like these 5 brilliant clients who are perfect.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
5 other ones from there, the 25 doesn't necessarily give us a lot of ammo.
Yeah, interesting. So like, and that's almost a perfect segue to start looking at. Let's start building your stack and looking at some of the tools we could use. But I just wanted, just before I do share that and share the screen, networking, LinkedIn strategy, tracking that, and just trying to build like genuine relationships and being open to the fact that if you're networking and that's going to be a main channel for you, some might end up as partners, some might end up as, I guess, just like friends, people you stay in touch with for the future. Something could come up in a couple of years' time, but some could turn into customers. And networking is about give and take. It's less booking, you're not necessarily networking for discovery calls. You're networking to just build from that point of view. So I imagine you've probably got a longer, like, at what point do you start to attribute things back to that? It might be it's not as clean cut as like SDRs, where it's book an appointment. Cool, we can attribute that back.
Yeah, we track how many meetings and how many people we've met and what happens from it. So we're doing that. Where it's a very referral led group, it's excuse me, I tried to mute in time, I couldn't. It's been quite direct actually. So there's been 2 1-call closes, which has been quite
nice.
Okay, happy to have that. Another referral I had was a 1-call close, but that was like asking for recommendations, and someone put me in touch, and we kind of right place, right timed it. So it's not too bad. That said, if I didn't apply my tact properly, I could meet 30 people and not ever get that.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Interesting. So if I pull up Stakki, it's just like get an understanding of how are you transferring all of that content, that marketing, that sort of like network sort of approach that you're taking. How are we transferring that back to, I guess, like your go-to-market? How are we building that go-to-market? I assume probably HubSpot, but maybe a different CRM. What are you using?
You got to add one to the bucket here.
Oh, which is it? Notion. Okay, cool. We had that 2 weeks ago, I think, with Better Contact as well. What's so good about Notion?
It's where all of our like day-to-day ops lives, and it's not an extra system to try and set up. We're pretty good at making Notion do what we want it to do, which has been like a bit of a curve, but it's also just in the same place. It's not like now I've got email, now I've got Slack, now I've got Notion, now I've got another thing. So it's all in one. Not to say it'll be that way forever, but for the stage you're at, and we just don't need to pay for something else. I know you could get HubSpot for free or cheap, but just team size, it's not worth.
Yeah, and Notion's like, it's so easy to use, and you just set it all up yourself, right? There's templates and stuff, but it's not like complicated. It's so intuitive. So that's why I think people like it a lot. But so then you kind of touched on this before. Is like, how can you find other accounts or similar prospects? You're doing a little bit of that on LinkedIn at the moment, but how are you building like your initial, I guess, list, or like that? Who do you know who's your ICP? How are you building those accounts that you want to target?
We know an ICP. It's finding them. The list building is the absolute gaping hole. A mixture of the Apollo free plugin for getting the contact the details. We've experimented with Clay. I don't know if we've used it for that. And we also have Sales Nav on the team, but I wouldn't say that's we're using it for list building. It's more account insights, and it's part of a client gig, so we've kind of got it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, we could use it better for sure. It's just in twin with Apollo, it would get us the contact info. That said, I think we could use it better to get a proper list. Though that if you found our ICP search, it would be enormous.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
exactly.
it's too big to be useful.
Yeah, really interesting. Like I think it was last week or a couple of weeks ago, Clay now has a native integration with LinkedIn. So I think what we are going to see, and what I'd probably recommend, is you could almost just go with LinkedIn Sales Navigator, building your lists, narrowing them down within that, trying to refine and save your lists really specifically, and get that to pull to Clay when it updates. Um, and I think you can also automate your posts and stuff like that from Clay back into LinkedIn. Obviously, then with Clay, you've kind of got access to tons of waterfall enrichments and all that type of stuff that you would need, or we might want to do, to then actually follow up on all of that. But I think that's quite a powerful integration. Everyone knows, and everyone's obsessed with Clay these days. Wants to know how to use it, how to make it operate, how to put it together. But it sounds like at the moment you're kind of still in that like decision phase on like which is the best route of those three.
Yeah, and just like cost wise, like I know Clay might have smaller ones, but just some at the point of LinkedIn being like 90 quid a month or whatever it is, it's like a what else do you want to add to this before we're like at literally zero in terms of having a proper outbound machine that like an SDR team could operate. We're like a 5-person company. We don't have that. So the cost is an element, and that's why I said the free trial of a bunch of them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Would so then what's your main mode of outreach? Say you do capture, or you build that list and you capture some prospects that you actively want to go and prospect. What channel are you going through, or how are you reaching out to them? Is it manual? If you automate some of that stuff with some of these other tools?
100 million% manual. I'd be going on their LinkedIn and doing it the scrappy way that I know how to do myself. And then at a point, I would reach out with a like well crafted and thought about email. Maybe I've even baited if we've chatted on the DM that I might send them a loom about something.
Yeah,
And that's what I send them an email.
interesting. One of the tools that you could look at then is maybe something like Find Email, because if you've got LinkedIn and using that to list build, Find Email is like one of the best and most accurate for email data. Can give you the most verified emails, like the most accurate, reliable ones. And you can scrape that straight out of LinkedIn into a list and follow up from that view. There's a tool I looked at this week as well for LinkedIn. You know, you've got these different ones which you can automate outreach with and stuff like that. But I looked at a tool called Teamfluence this week, which would allow you to build a list within it, and it almost like curates a feed. So you could put all of the top prospects you want to stay on top of, like catch up with, build a relationship with, like their posts, engage with their posts. So over time, you actually warm them up. So that then when you do that initial outreach for that DM, they've actually got way more exposure to you, rather than that manual having to follow up, having to check in, having to like go back to your list all the time. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that would be a really good one to put it all together. How then, with your content and stuff, how do you capture who's engaging with the content?
I've got the LinkedIn tool called Aware. Our good friend Alex Boyd has that, so that you can see top fans and top engages, all those things. You can do a CRM export. I don't think they have Notion. I'm sure we could work it out. Or there's a Chrome plugin called People to Notion, which if you're on the profile, if you tell it where to dump the info, it will do that. So I could just go and look at the profile and knock it in there.
Yeah, nice. I guess that you're really at this early stage, right? Of just building the list, and then it's going to be how do you automate the LinkedIn follow up with the email follow up as well?
I don't even know if I want to automate it. Maybe you need to tell me I'm wrong, but
I guess it depends
with
on
the lack
the
of
size.
numbers on the list. That's the thing. If it's like 10 people, no, who would do that? I also think the nature of what we do, we're trying to say do things differently. Don't be like robotic. Not saying that mass needs to be robotic at all, but it can be. I'm a little bit worried of automating almost anything, and that's probably wrong. But at the small stage we're at, where we've got so few prospects that we can do that game with, I think the logic's okay until we crack that, right?
Yeah. You're probably better off then automating like the list capture and the building of the potential list and having that surface the right prospects, and then, like you say, ring fencing your time, doing that follow up manually to however many prospects that is. You're still at the founder led sales, right? Stage. It's still you and your colleague. Yeah. And like we've all seen it where like founders have automated a load of outreach, and it comes to you, it just straight away just makes the company or the offer look a little bit strange, or just doesn't feel right, and you just ignore it straight away.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about a little bit. It's just when you're trying to sell, we do things differently, and it's got some polish. You really can't have that.
Yeah. Interesting. I really think like it's not on there yet. It's going to be on there in the next week. Something like Teamfluence is probably the best bet, because you don't have to automate the follow up and the outreach, but you can have that curated list of who are your top 300. I think that the starter pack gives you 200 or 300 leads that you can track, monitor their activity, so you can just more easily engage with your ICP rather than scrolling through LinkedIn and waiting to, you can hit the bell, but it's not really that useful. You can build a curated list and engage, tag them, pull that to the CRM when you want to actually then follow up, engaging with other channels.
Remind me when we finish recording. I've got one that you should check out.
Okay, cool. Say it. Bring it up. Like, what is it?
Okay, yeah. A friend of ours, Renee, is running a tool called Get Kicker or
Okay.
Kicker AI. They're between what sort of AI sales tool are we trying to be, but from as I understand it, and I think the way that they're going, it's an account kind of spotting AI that tells you who to go after.
Interesting.
Sorry, Renee, if that was horribly not what you say it is like, but as I perceive, that's pretty close.
So it tracks LinkedIn and spots the accounts.
Yeah, I think you plug in your ICP and it will pull out here's I think it's more like trigger event based, so it's more like this trigger event that you said was important with this ICP means that 20 minutes ago this account is probably a good hit, or like yesterday or last week or now.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's a lot of tools which are like using signals and surfacing signals back, right? And I wonder if signals is it just like the next intent? It's kind of the same thing, but people are just selling it as something, a different label, a different title. But that does sound interesting. That sounds like it could be useful. Help you surface the right accounts at the right time. I imagine you probably want to preload like your ICP and do that TAM mapping, put that in there. And then again, something that curates the list building element and the research element and helps you with that bit, so you can then focus on the outreach that you want to do, especially like the stage that you're at. Similar to me, like a lot of it is that manual follow-up, manual outreach, because you want to know exactly what's happening, keep practicing the message, get the feedback, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Nice, interesting. What's the plans then to grow that? How are you going to maybe scale, or maybe, whilst we're maybe not, I guess, looking at your existing stack right now, what triggers do you think would tell you, well, then actually can start to automate some of the outreach side of things?
I'm not sure of a trigger event. It's not like funding or hiring X job. I don't think there's probably not a lot else. There might be a fringe case of like, is hiring a marketing person, but is that what you meant?
No. I meant for you at the moment. So if we look at the tools that can help automate maybe like the list build, but we're going to keep that outreach manual, which I'm a big fan of anyway. Is there going to be like, at what point for your own business, might you consider adding more automation to the actual outreach itself?
Oh, okay.
So I'm sure
I
that's
think,
something a
yeah.
lot of leaders and like founders consider. And they want to put tools in that automate all of this and do that and replace SDM.
We'd want to be booking a good handful of appointments all the time. Like a few a week would be at that point, which we're some way off of it. I can control the inputs that generate that output, but it doesn't mean that I always get that output. So we want to be fairly consistent in what goes in and what goes out to get that, and then it would be worth it. Otherwise, it's just a guess before that. I think that's just like poor logic. I know you're not suggesting that, but if I don't know how to achieve it, and then I don't know how to make it faster, I'm making the test more confusing. So at that point, then absolutely.
That is a great way of putting it. Like, I really like that. Until you know the right inputs to give you a predictable number of outputs, i.e., meetings and conversations or opportunities, people are automating things way too early. And, it is just guesswork. The theory is, I imagine, or the excuse that some people might have for that is the more they can test, then the quicker they're going to learn and quicker they're going to then get to that point where they're being more consistent. But the danger is you're actually just burning a lot of prospects, burning domain reputations, burning profiles, like in that whole build up. And I would definitely encourage people to listen to what you've just said and wait until you're at that point of like, you can consistently control the inputs to like consistently measure what you're going to get from it before you start to automate anything from the outreach side.
Yeah, I definitely did the load 1,000 people into Apollo and send a couple emails, and maybe I'll get a couple meetings out of this. I got one person asked for a proposal. She didn't actually mean it. She blocked my domain before I sent it. So bit of fool's gold. But apart from that, I think I just hurt my domain quite a bit. And I know better than to do that. It's one of those, you're a founder and you're like, oh, we need to win some work, so let's go and do some stuff. You put your blinkers on. So it very easily done. No shame to anybody. We all do know better, but it happens.
Yeah, it's almost like a bit of a lesson that everyone knows might be the case, but you still think, I can try something. This might help get the wheels in motion. I've been there. Most people I've spoken to, young founders that I've spoken to, have sort of done similar, and it's understandable, right? You need to get the wheels in motion, so it's an easy way to get them moving.
Yeah, got to do something, and you feel like you're controlling it. Even though I did think my email had like some personality and had some oomph to it, it was basically an email newsletter that was a prospecting one, because they don't know who I am and all that stuff. What personality of mine can you read and understand if you don't know who I am?
Absolutely. None. Absolutely. And that's why content marketing and stuff that you guys do is such like a key part of this whole go-to-market strategy as you're looking at it as a whole. When people are saying like, do LinkedIn, do email, do this, you need to have like actually post and do good content so that people actually, it's not just a DM in their inbox. It's something that like something familiar, something interesting. They can go and see some of the content out there and be like, oh, actually, James has just messaged me. Like, there is actually some, like, maybe he does know kind of what he's talking about. There is some value there to be had. Makes it all way more likely, which makes your services a big part of, I think, any go-to-market strategy now.
Very quick story to tell you that will illustrate that point perfectly. I was on a team call with a group of people who have produced a couple of books now. Their second one has gone out very, very recently. You know who I'm talking about. Their first one, they literally sold some software a handful of times. I'm not saying everybody does this all the time, because of the book, because of how good they thought the book was. I'm sure they probably had some type of need for the software. You'd like to think so. I'm sure they had the money for the software, and I'm sure they found it useful, but they bought primarily because of the book, is what I heard.
Yeah.
Who does that?
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's possible to purchase things on reputation, never mind credentials and other things that you can build through doing what we just said.
Yeah. And one of those very same people years ago said to me, if you can be just consistent on LinkedIn, it's not the people that engage with your posts and stuff like that are probably going to buy from you. Someone at some point will just book a call with you, buy something, or like want your services, get to like late stage opportunity, and you'll never have known that they ever looked at like your posts and stuff like that. But that will happen, and it's only if you like ask every prospect would you find out that that's probably might have already happened to you. It's a really good way to look at it.
Totally.
Nice. Excellent. Well, everything you're doing, Ollie, it's like a nice complement to sort of the sales development world and all like the crazy sales tech that we're putting out there and we're seeing people put out there. So I'd encourage people to look at, you know, if you are going for more online strategies, more, I guess, social media content strategies, to heavily go and look at Slingshot and everything that Ollie's doing. Ollie, for you, little taste of build with Stakki there and for yourself, but I'd probably go and check out Teamfluence and see how that might help. And yeah, pleasure having you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was good fun. Good stuff. I like the show, and it's a good little demo of what you do as well. So perfectly done.
Well, we're trying. It's practice, but practice makes perfect, right? Appreciate having you
Always.
on, mate. Cheers.